Hello, Renata. Good evening. Hello. How many English speakers do we have? From it's fine. Okay. Yeah, we decided to keep this very international because there's actually quite a lot of UX people that have moved to Iceland, which is a good thing. Get to know Icelandic partners abroad during their studies, and then they move to Iceland. So my name is Finnur Magnusson. I used to be called Comment on the internet before it was a big thing. And I'm a product manager at Knox Health. And I'm really interested in user experience from all sides. And I've been thinking about doing something like this for a very long time. I was traveling too much for the last 6 years, and now I'm staying more in Iceland. And I met Ari a few weeks ago when I was still at Magga. You're a designer?
Yes. And I live in Denmark for a month here. I know some of you. Nice Denmark. And I'm an independent designer at the moment, and I just figured out I wanted to do something to meet the designers, and especially UX designers in Iceland, because I don't have the overview right now, and I think this would also be a great opportunity to share something that we all could gain something from and maybe be inspired.
Yeah, it's just a really simple, lean setup, 3 talks, 20 minutes, and then we can stay on and have some beers and have a discussion. But UX is I think I looked up on LinkedIn, Iceland plus UX is like 200 or 300 people that put that in their title. And there are 700 and some people on this group that David set up. He has a sick child. He's going to try to join us later. We kind of infiltrated that group, and here we are tonight. So I don't think there's anything else to say. We're not going to define what UX is. No. We're just going to have 3 stories on the first Thursday of every month. Yes. And we're going to try to keep it as diverse as we can. It's going to be some design, some research, testing, data, Einar, all sorts of weird stuff. I just left. But Friðrik, do you go by Fritz or Friðrik? Yes. I was told you. Yeah, that's the longest way. Yeah. Yeah, he calls you Fritz. But you have a very brave demo. So yeah, there's almost just one rule. That's almost just one rule. No PowerPoint and no keynotes. So we prefer demos. You can cheat. You can do slides in Figma if you and I do it. but we're trying to get people to think out of the box, tell a story, but bring the visuals. And we have a very risky live demo coming up. I'm not going to say any more. Just take it away.
Okay. Thank you. Honored to be the first one. Step on stage. Also a little bit afraid and scared. I'm not a designer, I'm a developer. I'm a product developer, if you like classifications at Colibri. We have been working with Friðrik for 2.5 years, building like digital solutions with them for customers. I'm going to go into the shopping experience, buying experience, and hopefully if the demo pods are with us, we will go all the way to like onboarding in the app or something like that. Yeah, that's probably the start of it. So, like, the title of the talk was buying stuff. Yeah, the experience of buying stuff that you like hope you never use. So, like, usually when you buy stuff online, it's like something that you buy out of necessity, like groceries and clothes, or for your enjoyment, video games and hotels and travels and stuff like that. But like, and there the concept is always like we're trying to sell more and more and more and more. Like we want to maximize what we sell. The insurance, on the other hand, is like quite interesting because like it's a product that we're trying to sell to customers and when they're buying it, they're like hoping that they never use it, but they have to put themselves in those shoes. Like, if I get them to accident, how will things be? So like that makes it a little bit harder and trickier. So before I go into the products that we have built, I wanted to show you kind of like the state of affairs, how it is, what's this accepted norm if I'm going to like get an offer for my insurances. So like when we started this, you would basically go to your insurance company or some insurance company. You would write tilboð, you would say I'm looking for an offer, you get some hit on the page, and like this is what would greet you. Like this is basically a form where you enter your personal details, you say roughly what you want to estimate, and you press submit. Like this is a little bit weird, and what happens after you press submit is that you just wait and hope that somebody contacts you. And if somebody contacts you, it's either by an email or phone, and they were like, okay, are you Friðrik? Are these all your details? Is this what you are? Yeah, this is me. And then you get some clarifying questions like further details, stuff like that. Then you get another email, and this time it's like, hey Friðrik, here's your offer. And that's has a big PDF in an attachment, and I can show you like one of those. This is an offer I got 4 years ago from TM, and it basically just tells me nothing. Like it's the name of the product, the price, and then it just goes on and describing what seems to be something that I really don't care about. So this was kind of the current state of affairs, and like there are many problems that we saw that are quite obvious. Like this is very inaccessible. Like I have to go to some homepage, I have to search for things. I have, like when I started the process, I have documents in attachments in emails. I don't know the name of the person of the insurance salesperson and so forth. Like, and there's also like this, there's no transparency. There's like, I have no idea what ökutækjatrygging does for me. Like, there's nothing about that here. And there are like many other things. And like the language here, like, I'm sorry to say if there are any lawyers here, like this is just written by lawyers, for lawyers, and that's boring. I don't like that. So there are many things that can be improved. And like, if I manage to read through this document and decide, okay, I want to buy this sexy product, I send an answer to the salesperson and say, okay, I want to buy this. And then he says, okay, all you need to do is now you need to sign these documents, you need to inspect your house, you need to inspect your car. So there are quite a few manual tasks that are still left. So with that said, I'm going to jump to the product that we built. And like this is the first screen, and probably if I were, even if the demo cards are not with us, and this is the only screen I can show you, I'm good. So like, this basically tells everything. So we created this persona, which is called Valdís, and like we created a persona, we gave her a tone of voice, and we say first, hi, it's Valdís. And like people at TM, when you said them, yeah, we're going to sell insurance online and we're going to start by saying hi, they were like, you can't do that. Insurance is formal, you have to be with a tie and strict and everything like that. But like, this is just to create a relaxed atmosphere, informal tone of voice, and make the customer feel comfortable. We say, ég ætla aðstoða þig, so we're kind of putting the customer in the front seat. This is all about him, and we are going to help him with að finna réttu tryggingarnar fyrir þig. So we're going to help you find the right insurance for you and get the right coverage. You see the prices right away. Þú sérð verðið strax. It's kind of obvious that when you're like shopping online, you expect to see prices online. But like we launched this 2 years ago, then there was only one insurance company showing prices online. I think there are 2 today that do that. So it seems given, but pricing and insurance is a complex thing, and we have legacy systems all over the place, so it is what it is. And you can finalize the buy right away. So if you have done the shopping, you like what you see, you can finish the deal, and when you stand up from the couch, you're a TM customer. So let's get started. I'm going to log in with the ID. You have to bear with me for 1 second. So like why EID? So why do I need to authenticate with the electronic IDs? So like I mentioned, like pricing is all based on you. You get a special price, the next person gets a different price. So we need to know who you are. So we get to this front page. So nice to meet you, Friðrik. Here we have all the insurance that you're interested in. Here you can pick all the insurance that you would like to buy. So, and when you found the insurance that you would like to buy, you can read in full details about each and one of them, and you can customize everything that you would like to do. So here is the first introduction to all of our products, and we try to explain in just 2 lines what each one of those is. These are the most common ones, and then below here we have a few of the more less common. So for this demo, I'm going to pick ökutækjatrygging. Looks good, and I press off. Well, this asks me what's the name of my number of my car. I'll pick one of our favorite demo cars, which is, I think, a Land Rover Discovery. Bam, good car. So, like, immediately we see the price of what we're buying. Exactly. And Maldi says, I've added skiltutrygging. So, like, she has added this insurance to my package, and she explains what it is. Bætir tjón af öllum bílsins og slysaukumann. So, like, this is information that I did not gather from that PDF, even if I would have spent 2 hours reading it. So, I'm going to say, good. I'm not going to do that. And then she says, okay, most people own cars that are worth more than 1 million. They add kaskotrygging. So, like, she's telling me, like, most people in your shoes, they would do this. And then she explains what kaskotrygging is. That is an insurance that covers damage on your own car. So, like, I can see what that product is, what it does, and I also see the price of it. I'm going to add that one. Okay, and then she says, okay, since you selected for the kasko insurance, there's this thing called self-risk, eigin-áhætta. That's what you have to pay in case you wreck your car. And again, we tell people, like, people tend to feel comfortable with, like, no, most people do this, I'll go with that. So we tell them most people pick 120,000. I can play around with this, get an updated price to see what effect this has on the price. But I am just the average guy, so I'm going to stick with 120,000. Okay, then there's this screen, like, this is a bastard. So basically what we're saying here you pick the amount that you want the kasko insurance to cover. But then we also say it's best to go with the market value of the car, which will always be the maximum of what we pay. So we're asking you to pick a price, but we're also saying it doesn't matter that much because we will just pay the market value of the car. So, like, this was a huge debate when we did the screen. We wanted to skip it entirely, but we lost the battle to the lawyers and risk analysts at TM, and they said they have to pick a number so that we can use that. So in the perfect world, we wouldn't take this, okay, say, we know the type of the car, we just call some API, we get the market value, but boom, the user doesn't have to see this. But, like, when I was doing this demo, I was reminded of this, like, UX step, or what you would choose to call it, and I was like, damn. But, like, this is a good reminder, and, like, now we have to pick it up and try to solve this once and for all. So maybe if you go through the flow in 1 or 2 months, you don't see that screen.
Is it based on the type of car at all, or is it just 3 million for everyone?
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
So do you base that on the type of the car at all, or is it just always the same number?
It's always the same number in this case. We just throw 3 million there. We, like, let's ship it, get it out there, and then we revisit it. And now it's, like, back in my head, and then we have to revisit it. I'm not going to insure another car. So, okay, now about this insure again. I've put together your insurances. On the next page, you can take a look at them and modify if you need to. So I click Skoða tryggingar, and here I'm greeted with this overview. And so here I can see my car insurance. I can see the price of it, and I'm going to click this Nánar button. Okay? So this is my car. I have the skiltutrygging. Here we describe it in more details. We say, like, by law, you have to have this. Okay, so I can't remove it. I have kaskotrygging. And here we describe it in a little bit more detail what that is. I can fully modify everything, and then we have this bílrúðutrygging. So we're gradually giving the customer more and more information about the products that we're selling. What we're also doing here, and it's probably one of my favorite parts about this, is like this part here. People sometimes talk about insurance companies and like lack of transparency. And basically what we did, we said, look, this insurance, this is what it covers. And then we added this is what it doesn't cover. So we basically went to the advisors and asked, like, what is the most common case that people walk in, want to claim something, and they're not covered for it? Okay, tell us that, and let's just list it up and be fully transparent and give away everything. Like, if you buy this insurance, you're not covered for sandstorm, stuff like that. So a lot of work went into that, and I'm pretty proud of it. Then at the end here, we have this sjá skilmála. I can click that, and then I get this PDF document, and I can read through that if that's what I'm all about. Sorry. I'm not going to do that now, I'm just going to press áfram. So, like, we're gradually giving the user more and more information about the products. At each step of the flow, we're just telling him enough information that he needs to make that decision. So, we're guiding him through the flow, helping him make decisions. And then at the end, we give him the full flexibility to just adjust everything, customize it, if you will. So, I think this product is a lot about this, like finding this balance between like advisory and full flexibility. Another thing that I wanted to add is like, if I would like to buy this, I can press this kaupa núna button. But if I was the kind of person who would like to go online, shop, and then go offline, think about things, talk to stuff, do some more research, and then come back for the buying part, I can log out, I can log back in, then it will be, hey Friðrik, welcome back, would you like to continue from where you left off? So people divide into two parts with that. Some people just go through it in one sprint, others need to take their time. So I think we're catering to both parties quite well with that. So there's nothing left here. I'm just going to buy. There's an overview. Give my email, say how I want to pay, and I confirm it. So now I'm done. I am now a TM customer. The insurance has been issued, and everything is the way it should be. And there I got my welcome to TM email. And there are also, like I mentioned earlier, there are a few manual steps, like signing electronic documents. If I would have had to cancel that car insurance, that step would have been there in the flow. And what's left now is basically I'm going to switch to the phone and do the risky part of this. Sorry.
Have you just more than 5 minutes?
Do I have 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay, I can order a beer and get back. So. No. Yeah, so basically, like I mentioned earlier, there are quite a few manual steps that you need to do, and one of them is the casco inspection. And if you've ever gone through one of those, you know what it is. So basically, I'm insuring a car at TM. We need to know the status of the car. So you need to go with the car, go to TM, get out of the car, get into TM, say, hey, here's my car. There's a guy or a woman who walks outside, takes 2 circles around the car, goes back in, you're good to go. So that is a casco inspection. So basically, we just need to know the state of the car. I'm going to show you this. So basically, this is the app, the TMS. And here I have my new car insurance, and I have this casco skoðun. Again, here's Valdís, because like we're about to go through a process. Then we have Valdís pop up again, and she's there to hold your hand and say, like, hey, you want that casco inspection. Here we explain why we need a casco inspection. This is also not just for the insurance company, this is also beneficial for you. Then you have the know the status of the car when you bought it. You can see if there's a dent that was there or wasn't there. I press next, and I'm going to start my casco inspection. So I bought a little prop that I stole from a 2-year-old. And this is the risky part. He's probably at home now crying, missing his favorite car. So this is basically just a casco inspection. Basically, Use photo, left side. Use photo. And we have user tested this on multiple occasions. And like, there are a lot of things that people hesitate with in the flow and in the app, but everybody seems to be able to finish this. I don't know what it is. It's just so simple. Everybody knows how to take a picture. We even explored with a little bit more technical version of the camera where you had like this frame of a car and stuff like that. But we soon discovered like it's maybe too much of a video game-ish thing. Just keep things simple. And like everybody managed to go through this. So there are no damages. Now submit. And the Casco inspection is in review. So basically what happens now is that there's an employee at TM who just takes the pictures, he goes through them, zooms in, there's a depth here, request additional images, or just thumbs up, that's approved, issue the insurance. That's it. I think I'm done. Any questions or thoughts? Any
dark patterns you could have incorporated into the flow?
No, like I'm not a designer. Can you repeat what you said?
Trick people into that. Did you
Dark patterns? No.
Okay, so you never had any discussions about like, okay, we'll give them like a discount or like a discount or something if they sign up for this or whatever, like a newsletter or something like that.
No, I mean there is this button at the end of the flow that's like, I want to be contacted by email for special offers, and almost nobody picks it. So that would be an idea to use the dark pattern, but we haven't discussed it for that, so that's not been discussed.
Did you have a specific content person, like a
Yes.
writer on
Yes.
the team that is obvious for the
Yes, I mean this is, so much of this is this copy and tone of voice, and like we had Berglind, a colleague of mine, who did most of the copy and just like excellent work, and she just was given like full freedom to set the tone of voice, and yeah.
Where did the, so where does the kind of, what was the brief? Meaning, is this a lot of this coming from you and you are driving the way this is implemented? Or did TM have a vision of doing something like, and if they did, like, what was it? Like, if we want this to be modern and you just ran with that, or what it was specific?
I would say that like TM, just as any other company, is aware of this like digitalization or whatever you choose to call it. We had a dialogue 2 or 3 years ago, like, okay, we need to do something, Colibri and TM, and they just gave us full freedom, and we just say, okay, this is our vision, and they just give thumbs up and run with it. And but of course, they have a say in everything that we do. But we basically get to do, in collaboration with TM, what we think is the best thing, and then we just present to the board of directors. Yeah.
Can I add, like, it's a joint team between
Yes.
Colibri and TM, so it's people from both sides.
So it's like just like a traditional Colibri team. We have team coaches, designers, developers, and also people from TM. Okay, we're done.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I saw this demo last year, and no, sorry. And it was the first thing that came to mind when we talked about setting up this meetup. Ásgeir is here now. It's like, hey. And so we met for the first time last week as well. So we're connecting people. But this to me is just a fantastic example. I tried this myself, and when I saw this as a customer of an insurance company before I saw your demo, it was like I didn't get the whole app thing because I'm one of these shop around people. But the tone of voice and the journey, it's like, but when you had the kicker with the app to living up somewhere in the rural Iceland and saving me that trip just for a person to walk around my car, it's like a job to be done, empathy, user experience, journey, smorgasm. So really well done. Magga Dóra is next. See.
Can you give me a background?
I can do something nice. Yes. Do you have any preference?
He said no slides, so I was like, I'm just gonna tell you a story.
Yeah, we're doing all of this for the first time, so. Bit.
Do you want to introduce, tell the people who I am?
No, I was going to tell them about how I got to know you better through your human-computer interaction course at the university. It's the only useful course I did at the university, and I did that after I graduated. So I haven't used anything of my computer science studies in my career, but before you moved to Boston, you had, this, I did it at the night school thing. And yeah, it was good fun. I hope you do more teaching later.
I teach user experience to computer science students at the University of Reykjavik.
How do you feel about having yourself as the background?
That would be really awkward.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just put.
Wait, I can turn it off, but it would be nicer to have something to watch other than me. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, if you're a psychologist and a computer scientist, which is it's kind of, you figured out that product design and UX was going to be a thing long before we did?
No.
Or was it just a fluke?
I did psychology. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not allowed to call myself a psychologist, but I did a psychology degree. Okay. But I realized very soon that nobody would benefit from treatment with me, especially me. So I decided to embrace my nerdism and signed up for computer science.
Good thing for us.
Initially to do artificial intelligence, which is now the rage, but my first semester I did a human computer interaction course, and then I knew I'd hit home. Okay, so hi.
Hi.
My name is Magga Dóra. I was just gonna I gave this title to finish. Too big to fail, question mark. And I had a vague idea what I wanted to talk about. Then I realized I had 3 stories that I could tell underneath this heading. So maybe this is the first of the series. We'll see. So as some of you may know, I've been working in software since the turn of the century. I have a background, like we talked about, in psychology and in computer science. So I've always been working on this, in this field of ours, which back then was called doing usability, and now it's called, experience design, service design, whatever you are on that spectrum. For the large part of the last decade, I lived in the U.S., in Boston, Massachusetts, to be exact, where I worked for a design agency called MadPow. That's MadPow with a P. Referring to freshly falling snow. It was started by snowboarders in New Hampshire. So this agency was particularly appealing to me when I moved to Boston because they have always had this premise that digital design should be based on user research and on the user. So they have a fantastic user research department, which is where we would get our information and inspiration for all of our designs. Another reason for why I was drawn to them is because they have always been focusing on the healthcare space. And I think that UX and healthcare, UX for patients, I think these are very important topics. So I wanted to work with them in that field. Of course, when I came to the US, I was very naive about the US healthcare system, but having worked for a broad spectrum of healthcare companies in the US, I have a very wide-angle lens view of the US healthcare system, which is frankly a chilling view. Anyways, that was just a little introduction about me, but I came here to tell you a story about being too big to fail. So there were these 3 stories that I could pick from, and a couple of them involved, chaos and mayhem. And don't we all love trash talking our clients? It's a pastime that we all take part in, and I know that we all frequent, clientsfromhell.net. I figured that it would be fun to indulge in that for a while, but then I decided against it, and I decided to tell you a story about my favorite client instead. There was this one time when we were here in Iceland over summer that I got a message that when I came back, I would be a part of a big project that we had just started. I was in Iceland for the big kickoff, so I missed it, which was fortunate actually, because flying to the Midwest midsummer is always a gamble, and it took my colleagues 3 days to get home due to tornadoes and thunderstorms. But when I showed up in Boston, I showed up at the lead UX's desk and I said, "So what is the request?" And he said, "Well, they want us to redesign this web app that was made by this offshore developer and is underperforming in the field." And we all know that redesign projects are crap. Because redesign projects, basically, it means that there has been a lot of effort put into creating something. It failed, usually because there was a false premise somewhere. And now they come to you to polish the turd. When you know that what you really need to do is throw everything away and start fresh. But most clients are not willing to do that because they've invested a lot of money and a lot of social capital in the turd, so they insist on you polishing it. So, crap project. Okay. I thought, well, fine. It's middle of summer. It's a straightforward project. Will be done in 3 months. I ended up working for 3.5 years on this. So what do you want me to do? I asked the lead UX. Well, he says they want us to start with user research. Sounds great. They want us to visit the users in the field. And I'm like, that's even better. He's like, I'm slightly confused because I emailed them yesterday and I said, in order to be frugal and save on money, we should focus on visiting users that are close to our head offices, so we could just drive there and meet them. And they just added $100,000 to our travel budget. Now, many of you in here are consultants, and you know that a project that has a total budget of $100,000, that's great. But now this client has added $100,000 to our budget on a whim, just for travel. Okay, tell me more. That summer, there were 6 people traveling around the US, visiting users. And that's how I found myself driving around Florida. And I ended up driving around a lot of the Midwest and the South, which was interesting in its own sake, and a few good stories from there, but not going there now. So after I had familiarized myself with the project, I'd done the research, I'd met with the team, and the team talked about what they had seen, etc., we got invited to go back to the client that was doing this huge kickoff meeting for this big rebrand of the product that this web client was a part of. And I was chosen to go, so I got my moment in the Midwest, fancy hotel, top floor, all the sales team, the marketing team, all the agencies were there. Even the staff from the client had been given specific permission to show up in jeans. It was that thick. Champagne afterwards on the roof deck, the whole lot. The chief marketing officer gave this long speech about how they were going to add hundreds of thousands of users to their product. And while we were sipping the champagne on the roof deck afterwards, my main contact, he came up to me and said, okay, what did you say? And I had to bite my tongue, and I had to check myself, and I had to take a deep breath. And then I said, I will suffice to say that everything we've been discussing here today is illegal everywhere except here and in New Zealand. And that fascinated him. He had no idea. You're probably curious by now to know what sort of client this was. Well, some of you may have guessed it, that this was a big pharma client. Okay, they're a big pharmaceutical company, and the product that we were discussing was a highly specialized drug that is only given on prescription for only a very limited number of diseases. I will pause here to tell you that I have met people outside my work for this client that have told me that this drug changed their life, like it saved their life. It is a magical potion that for some people mean the difference between a crippling disease and living life to the fullest. Okay, but it is highly specialized. And because of how the US healthcare system works, and I'm not going to go into that in a lot of detail, it is very, 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 very expensive. Which suffice to say, though, as an explanation of the US healthcare system, is that when you go to the doctor in the US, it is not your doctor who decides on your treatment. It is your insurance company. Okay. So this web app that we are redesigning is created to facilitate that process of getting the drug accepted by the insurance company. Okay. So I can tell that you're confused. A website redesign project for a web app developed in India for big pharma. How can this be my favorite client? Well, first of all, our main contact that I referred to earlier was very ambitious for his product. He's a part of the marketing team responsible for supporting sales. They call it access and reimbursement solutions. He is a fantastic guy to work with. He is sharp as a tack and fun to be around and a great manager. Those of you who are consultants in here will appreciate that his requests were clear, and he always gave us all the information and access that we needed to be able to solve them. Also, every chance he got, he emailed every boss that he knew at MadPower to tell them what a fantastic job we were doing. He would call people on the team personally to relay positive feedback that he got back from the field. Our main job as consultants is to make our main contacts shine. That is our main job, because they have put their money and their social capital on the line by hiring us. He made sure that we were also sharing by discussing it directly with our bosses, what we were doing. So that's why we were driving around visiting users. Users in this case do not mean patients. It means people at the medical offices that are responsible for interacting with the insurance companies. So what we did was that we showed up at the office, escorted by the salesperson assigned to the office, and the technical support person that was assigned for this district to support people using this particular web app. We would ask for the person that was responsible for the insurance paperwork. We would sit down with them, talk about how they went through their work. We would observe their work area and their process, and we would give them access to our test system, of course, because we couldn't watch their own access, which is full of patient information, and then we would ask them to explain to us what it is that they do. So one thing that I was really, really worried about was that the tech support people that we were supposed to be, hanging around with would be really against us traveling with them to try to improve the product, because that directly impacts their job, right? On the contrary, they were very, very welcoming and very open to having us with them, because they understood the potential of that. Actually, they paraded us around like celebrities. They would take us with them to offices that were confused or resistant to using the software and say, I brought you the designer. Tell them what it is that you need. Oh, I lost my notes. Okay. So by traveling around the US with 6 people, we visited about 30 different offices. We talked to about 40 different users. And armed with this information, we came back to the client product team, and we had everything we needed to redesign. When I say we had a full team. We had 2 to 4 researchers, we had 2 to 4 UX people, we had a developer, we had 2 graphical designer, we had a content person. We had a full team. Not me trying to do content on the side with English as my 3rd language, not the UX, the user researcher doing UX. Whole team. The first time we did this round and we visited the user, we realized that the app that had been created, the workflow that was assumed by the developers was not the workflow that people were actually using. So we were able to decipher that they had 2 different ways of approaching this problem, and we got permission to redesign the whole interface to accommodate for these 2 approaches. But in order to get that permission, we were doing 30 people design studios, and we were even called in as mediators, as our main contact was trying to get all the heads of the different units that were responsible for different parts of this service to agree on what we were doing, when we were doing it, and how we were doing it. So they called us in as like a 3rd-party mediator to go through that meeting. On my own time. 3 minutes? Oh, okay. And I want to tell that side story then. Okay. Okay, so while doing all of this, we learned about our restrictions. Of course, we were not their ad agency. They had Saatchi and Saatchi doing the rebranding, so we took direction from them. Coding was to be done offshore. We could not budge them on them. They had already made a deal with the Indian IT giant Cognizant. We discovered that the web app was basically a skin on top of a fax machine. And we were also told that the login page was supposed to only include 2 features. Okay. We designers, we love our restrictions. They make us tick, right? And we will make anything work. Except, of course, restrictions that come from the C-level, like the one about the front page only having 2 options. But anyways, we had the permission to start fresh. So we did, and then we discovered what it means to design for a big pharmaceutical company in the US. Because we were working for the marketing department, and the marketing department, anything that they publish, they send out, has to be approved by the Federal Drug Administration, the FDA. So every single screen that was supposed to be developed had to be created and put into a PDF document that was sent to the legal team for review and then off on to the FDA for approval before development started. Every single screen. We're talking about hundreds of pages, PDFs that were 100 pages long. Every drop-down shown, every option, every state. Not particularly agile. And yet, they are my favorite client. They're my favorite client because when development was done, we did more user research. We did usability testing. They're my favorite client because when we told them that the design, when it came back from the developers, it had already been roughly translated into code. Not terribly, but put off by enough pixels to be unprofessional looking. So we got permission to create a design system for them, where we would create the code for the UI, and the coders at Cognizant would copy paste into there. They're my favorite client because when they had launched this into the field, they asked us again to go out and see how the users were doing. I was traveling on my birthday for this, and I always take vacation on my birthday. Because as consultants, we know the thing that we most lack is feedback. We never get feedback because we are always making assumptions and doing design and sending out things into the field, and then very often we have no idea how they are implemented or how they're introduced to the users. We don't have access to the users. Only the client has access to the users. And they were giving us access to the users. We got the insights that we wanted and needed right from the users. It is so satisfying to watch happy users. That is one of my favorite things. And that is the reason for why our main contact has now risen within the ranks of his company, of this big, huge international company, is that the users, they loved it. And their market research has shown that for offices that have this particular product, they are more likely, and that haven't used this particular web app, they are more likely to prescribe this drug over the competitor. That means $1 billion in revenue for this type of company. That's billion with a B. When they aggregated all the data from this big rebranding, this seemingly unimportant web app was put to the board as one of the reasons for why this rebranding was a success. And it's not because we made it so much easier to use. It's not the only reason. But it was also a matter of respect. The offices and the doctors, they felt that this company was serious about supporting them and supporting the patients. The users, they felt acknowledged that their Sisyphusian task of interacting with insurance companies that honestly must drain the will of life out of most people, that there was somebody came in there and seriously wanted to listen to them and make it easier. So we created this well-functioning web app. But we also created an experience that made people feel valued and seen. And these turned out to be the people that influenced sales the most. Because if the doctor had a choice between going with this drug or the competitor's drug, and it was easier to get this drug cleared through insurance, we're going with this drug. So this is the success of doing things right. Because this thing that we do, it works. It works. It creates value for people. If we do it properly, it is almost foolproof. If we don't cut corners, if we don't skimp on the user research and the requirements, if we don't try to do things too cheaply, it works. So it's so wonderful to be able to do things properly once in a while, because when do we have the luxury of doing it? That's why they are my favorite client. And that's the power of being big. Too big to fail.
How many user research UX people do we have?
8. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I wanted to ask a question. The reason why it took like 3.5 years instead of 3 months?
Oh, no, that's because we did it again and again and again. We started the redesign in July of, we were doing these visits in July of 2014. We launched in April 2015. That's when I went into the field again. And so we were just doing a cycle of things, and we did this 3 times more before I worked for it. So I have a lot of experience driving around the Midwest. visiting doctors' offices.
So did the pharmaceutical company like just add to the budget, or was it like continuously just like, okay, next 3 months we're gonna do this, or?
They immediately saw the effect that this was having on the sales, and so they were, there were always changes in the technology and in the way that we could interact with the insurance companies, that sort of things, and so they were just improving the app to keep up with the workload and user requests that came in.
Great. So, the majority of companies in Iceland don't know the value of UX. Is that a fair statement? So it's good to get stories from abroad where we have all sorts of fancy UX titles. I did some recruitment in Sweden when I was working for Magga. It's like a transition to the next one. Yeah, I was looking for a product owner, and I got like all sorts of UX titles: UX researcher, UX tester, UX designer, UX UI designer, all of these, and it's like people who have been specializing in those things, which is not something we do in Iceland. We do everything because we are very few, and that's another reason for us gathering here and learning from each other. Eysteinn, I used to work with you a few weeks ago until I left, but I want you to maybe come in and show what has been happening on the Magga site. So we did a rebranding 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was all sketch-based, and this was transitioned to Figma. There's some really cool stuff that he's been working on, and we want to have this a mix of research, process. We've done insurance and pharma. It's like, how exciting is that? So now we'll do a bit of fintech.
All right.
Okay.
Before I start, does everybody here know what a design system is? If you raise your hands, if you know it. Yeah, most of you know it. So skip explaining it. You're all experts here. Okay, so I'm Eysteinn, a product designer at Magga. My role there is leading the design system and leading design in digital banking. I've been at Magga since 2017, and I'm a design system enthusiast. And I'm going to be talking. I will be talking about our ongoing journey creating the Magga design system. So, as Finnur mentioned, Magga rebranded in 2016, I think. The rebrand started then, right? Maybe late 2015, but was launched in 2017, and it was a huge success. Magga won awards in Iceland, of course, Lúðurinn, and in London, and for the app and the browser version of the app as well in SWEF, or yeah, Web Awards. And I can't take any credit for that, as I wasn't there. I was too late for that party. But like with all great parties, they are chaotic, and we all know what happens at the end of a party. We need to clean up, and unfortunately, the designers left, and I was there. I just arrived. Yeah, I was there for 6 months alone until Pablo, the other designer, joined me. And we had very few guidelines to follow, and the design files lacked consistency, and that bled into our products. I will go into that later. But yeah, we set on a journey to build a system so we could work in a better harmony, have clear guidelines for designers, developers, and product owners, and get consistency throughout our brand and product. And have we succeeded? No, we have not. But the system is slowly evolving and getting more mature. And I think we can say we will eventually succeed, but it's a marathon. So, like Finnur mentioned as well, we started doing all our component libraries and style guides in Sketch, which is a design application for you guys who know what design system is, definitely know what Sketch is, but yeah. But we felt it didn't serve all of our needs. Many guys grown a lot in the last year or two, and we now have developers and designers in Sweden and Poland. So we needed an application that worked better for teams across countries building products together. So we looked into other design applications and found that Figma would suit us best. And what Figma does well is, of course, the collaboration, which they were first famous for, as well as how nice you can structure your files within Figma. You can also comment and seek feedback right in the working file, so you don't have to use InVision or be somewhere else. You're always in the file, in the working file. And this is just how we structure our files here. This is Magga and my playground here. I call it Monica's closet because it's just trash, you know. We have the products for people, products for businesses, products for banks. We have the Magga.com website and promotional material. Yeah, and something like a year ago, we switched over to Figma, and you'll never believe what happened next. We didn't import anything from Sketch over to Figma. We felt our foundation was not ready to start building components based on it, so we opted to start fresh from beginning. Yeah. What we also wanted to do was to distance ourselves from systems like material design and challenge ourselves to build something different, be innovative, but of course using other systems for reference and borrowing what fits our system, but not copy-pasting entirely what others have done. Systems like Google Material have great documentation, but we didn't want to make things too easy for us. So, yeah. But I'm now going to show you the foundation we have been building and what we are building our products on. And I'll start off with grid system. Let me get a drum roll. Here we are. So we have our, oh man. We have our grid system, which is based on 6 pixels. So it's the first thing we are not like Google Material. They're using 4 and 8 pixel grid. But Magga on the web was previously using 6 pixels, but mobile was using 8 pixels. And since we're trying to keep things consistent, it's hard building components on, yeah, for both platforms if the margins and the spacing are different. So we would have to build 2 platforms. So we want 1 pixel grid. We are, yeah, and typography. Right. It goes the other way, my mouse. So, yeah. Our typography system has been very challenging because we have to take into account many products we have on different platforms. And we are trying out now, what we are trying out now is a version stripped down to bare minimum, not leaving too much room for usage. when we started, we found out that in our systems, mobile and web, we had 50 to 60 different textiles. And what we are now trying out is 21 textiles. So, yeah, just an example, we had maybe textiles in 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 or something. It was, yeah, kind of chaotic, but yeah, and that was not including our business and admin products. It was just in the app. So we probably had hundreds of textiles. I don't know. But yeah, we narrowed it down to 21. And we were able, with that, to focus more on our 6-pixel grid, making it work for it. So it fits every time with 18 pixels, 24, 30 pixels. So we don't have odd numbers in our vertical rhythm. Yeah, we also give our font weight a specific usage, which is not uncommon, but we are trying to use more like lighter tones for to create a hierarchy. Like if there's less hierarchy, it's a lighter weight on the font. Cats. Need your fingerprint.
It does this sometimes. It's too fancy.
Yes. All right, so colors. We worked a lot on colors, keeping accessibility standards in mind, throwing ideas back and forth, slowly building up a system that can be used across all our designs for marketing or in the app, for illustrations, for data visualizations, etc., etc. We put a lot of time into finding the best solution that worked for us. The previous color palette felt a bit limiting sometimes, and sorry, lost track. Yeah, so we started to finding out a lighter and a darker version of each color, getting the correct balance between each color. But when we needed a new color, that created chaos, because where were these colors coming from? So we took what we had already done and tried to bridge the gap between our brand colors and create this color wheel. So you can eliminate the guessing from our designs, which ultimately, or yes, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it just eliminates the guessing from the designs. And that's essentially one of the things we are trying to achieve. It speeds up workflow and keeps our designs consistent. We have this shit. Sorry, this is slowing me down. No, it's okay. Yeah, one thing I didn't know, this is from my material, but the naming. Did you know that web font was based on, the color naming was based on a web font name? Like for light, it was a light color, and for just, yeah, anyways. Yeah, we built a system or guidelines for data visualization. So, for example, if we have an expense report and a graph for it, we have a triadic color scheme to choose from. We also write, like the professionals we are, write all our guidelines in Latin, which is very important. Yeah, and this is just our UI colors, how we use it, and this is the scale we have, and etc. etc. Let's go to illustrations. Okay, we are also creating a system for illustrations with guidelines included. It's work in progress, but we have a pretty clear idea of what we want. We have identified a color palette that we use with limited light tones, mid-tones, and dark tones. And we mostly use our primary palette, but if we need the colors, we use the secondary as well. But we have these different illustration types. Each illustration type has rules for color usage as well. But if I go through them, it's the mascots or the mannequins. And we aim on giving each mannequin maybe a personality trait and a role within our app. For example, if one is, for example, could be trustworthy and give good advice, while another is just quirky and clumsy with money or something. It's just okay. Yeah, we have spot icons, which is essentially just our category icons, but they are like with juicier. They have more depth and color in it. They can also be used as components in bigger illustrations, for example, in Spot Heroes. But Spot Heroes are a collection of components. I'm not sure. Yeah, and these illustrations have like a story we're trying to tell. We give each illustration a lead in the story. For example, the mannequin obviously is a lead here, but the topic is take high impact action. So he's in a ladder and he's watering the planet because he wants to take care of the planet. So we try to make them a little bit quirky and like play with scale a little bit. So he's bigger than the Earth, and now he's smaller than a coin. But we have diagrams, which is just simple shapes with explaining complex features. And we have confetti because it wouldn't be a party without glitter and sprinkles. Yeah, so Magga has a lot of icons. Maybe not to anybody's surprise, as we pride ourselves for our transaction categorization. And an icon library was the first thing we created that fell under the design system. Since then, we've spent a lot of time working on icons, not creating new ones, but maintaining the old ones. It's time-consuming work when there are so many. And we've already reduced them by half, because before they were like this. And this is fairly easy to do with programming, so we just deleted them all, and just programmers took care of it. And we even are thinking of reducing them by just having one style. I think just much easier for us. So I'm just going to run through components we have, the design system. As I've said before, this is work in progress and it's not anything near finished, but we're working on it. But we have the buttons, of course, tabs and toggle pickers. Pickers are just big radio buttons, but, selection and slider. And we have different styles of the buttons and the states. We have user input, of course. Feedback, etc., etc. Text area. Navigation and on. And maybe if you're not used to working with Sigma, it's what is pretty cool is that we can build a prototype with fairly easy, or product owners, and could help our customers. I have no clue why this is like this, but it is. Yeah, the font is missing, of course. Yeah, okay. Don't look at it then. This is going so well. Yeah, but yeah. It's just an example. Blah, blah. All right. Amazing, amazing. Thank you. But yeah, it's just an example how quick we can create this. My time up. Is my time up? But yeah, one cool thing I want to show you before I stop is this product here. It's rewards. This was launched in Sweden last year, I think. And what is cool with this product is that we were several designers that worked on this, mostly a freelancer from Sweden that didn't know our brand before. And he just followed the system and it worked out great. We just were able to keep perfect consistency with our brand, and yeah, just pretty proud of it. I think it's the first product we built from the system. Am I right? Yeah, one of the first. And yeah, here you can see a sample of Magga hugging the earth. Yeah, I think that's it. Yes.
Since you have such a range of products, do you have like different libraries for each and every one that you import into?
No, we haven't. But I've thought about it. If that is something that makes more sense. Simple, you know.
I was just thinking about the amount.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's actually something that Figma might need to. Yeah, it would be cool if they had a better structure around the components, so you can like Yeah.
There's just one system for all the
Yeah.
products.
Now.
For people and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Love it. Okay.
Have you thought about opening the design system to the Figma community?
No, I have not. Yeah, maybe one day. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to be done there still. A lot of things that not perfectly satisfied with, but you know.
You can publish it with the lips.
I've been on the receiving end of using this, so I worked with Eysteinn for a couple of years, and this being one of the first products that me and Alfred, we've been doing design sprints all over the world with banks, where essentially we started using this while it was being built, and that's an internal joke, or has been. It's like, when is it finished? And it's never. It's like the amount of work you put into this. It's a shame for no one to see it. That's why I pressured you to come out and do a public speaking gig. Really good. And what essentially this did for all the user testing and research we're doing for the banks was that we could pull together a whole app in a day. So if you have a day to build the prototype, we, instead of just focusing on one feature, we just, like this activity feed demo you did, it's like that could take a few hours just to pull in that stuff. But since migrating to Figma, we had all of the components of the Magga UX, and we could have a business person go in and just do the copy and the editing. So we could do good copy in Polish or Serbian or Turkish and test an app with maybe 20 to 30 screens built in a day. So, and many guys had the privilege. It's like none of the designers who left are here today. I don't know. Didn't want to open up to their.
I met Jón Frímas here earlier, and he said that he really want to see me roast him.
Yeah.
That was not the point.
But it's I think it's one of the few companies in Iceland that has had 2 to 3 designers dedicated in the development teams for more than 6 or 7 years. CCP is another one, but I think it's a trend that is changing, and it's like, so there are not many companies that have this luxury of building something extensive like this. Really good job. Well done. Now we have an hour to drink and chat. These are the 3 presentations I wanted to see. I have a backlog, but it's like, I don't know everyone here. The idea is to just keep it like a mix of design and research and process and anything related to UX. So if you have any ideas, you can use the Luxe group to either put yourself forward or suggest something similar. But we put this place 3 months into the future. So it's happening again. We just need to fill the slots. Okay, cheers.